if you have a gift, you have to feed it. You have to put in the time, the energy, the passion. You have to put it to work. And I'm saying this as much to myself as I'm saying it to you because we all need that reminder. Welcome to the Creatively by Estelle podcast. My name is Estelle Averi and I'm your host. This show is for creative and performing artists, and this is your space to feel creative, to feel inspired and motivated every single week, and to be given tactical tips and tools for you to reach your creative goals and fulfill your purpose as a creative person. You are welcome here. Let's get into the episode. Hi, welcome back to the Creatively by Estelle podcast. Thank you for being here as always. I appreciate you for listening in. I hope you are feeling good. How was your weekend? How was last week? How have you been? Hopefully well. Let's go ahead and take a deep breath. As we start this new week, I last week was not feeling too great, like in the second half of the week. It's not doing well, but thank God for healing. So I'm feeling much better now. And during that time, I was like not creating as much. I wasn't doing like my song of the day challenge that I do on TikTok. And I was just doing a lot more scrolling and looking at, you know, past things that I've shared and like thinking about the show and whatnot, and which is good. And I also like created some stuff that I'm gonna be like sharing later throughout the week. But it just made me think about like creating versus consuming and how it's so easy to get caught up in like looking around and like, okay, what are these people doing? Or like, what is this person doing? Especially as creatives, as opposed to focusing on what do I want to do in this season, or what is God calling me to do in this season, or what am I looking to, how am I looking to challenge myself right now? What do I want to create right now? Like it's so easy to be like, oh, like what is this person doing over here, or what's this person doing? Which I love that too. That can be so inspiring too, and uplifting and helpful. Like I love that other people create great content too. But I just think that it's interesting how we balance that. So that's what I'm going to talk about real quick today. All right, let's get into today's episode. So I want to talk about focusing on creating and building your craft over simply consuming. There is a place for consuming, and it's important to consume, right? That's how we learn, right? People always say to writers, if you want to be a great writer, read lots of books. And it's so true. That's what gets you interested in writing in the first place, right? That's what makes you want to tell stories in the first place. That's what makes you fall in love with characters and inspires you to be someone who creates, right? It's reading those books, right? It's consuming that incredible content. It's consuming other people's art, and that's amazing, and it's so good. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we're not getting lost in like scrolling and looking at other people's content or consuming content and art, even though it's great and beautiful. We don't want that to be all that we're doing, right? If we want to build our craft, we have to do it ourselves, right? We have to put in the work ourselves, and we have to take that time to really grow our craft and work on our craft. And that's something that I'm continually working on. So if you're with me, like, let's go on this journey together. Let's keep growing our creative craft. Let's keep, creating as much as we can. And that's not to say, of course, I always want to give like a disclaimer. That's not to say that you have to keep going and never rest. Take no breaks. No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm a big advocate for resting and taking time and surrendering, making sure that you're spending time in God's presence, making sure that you're spending time, hearing from God and in that quiet place. Like, yes, rest is so good and is what we need as well. But for today's episode, I'm really focusing on, having that mindset that you're not going to be constantly comparing yourself. You're not going to be constantly giving into self-doubt when you're looking at what other people are creating. you're going to choose to instead to keep creating. You're going to choose to instead work on growing your craft, and as systematically as possible in whatever way possible. And so I think to start, that looks like just starting at the top of the week, right? Like you are now. It's the beginning of the week, the beginning of the month. So, you have this kind of fresh slate. So I think it starts with starting at the beginning of the week and looking at your schedule, looking at your calendar and seeing what are some things that I know that I want to get done by this week, that I want to work on this week? What's something that I want to work on this week? For me, I know that I need to be looking through auditions for myself on Backstage, which is, a place to audition for actors and performers, right? And I need to be looking at what self-tapes do I want to submit, right? What shows or what things am I interested in auditioning for, and prepping for auditions and actually doing that, right? So that's something that I'm scheduling into my plan for this week. And of course, I always schedule in the podcast, recording the podcast episode or editing or whatever, and posting about it, sharing about it. And I also schedule for, doing the Song a Day challenge on TikTok, right? Because I schedule for working on myself vocally. So I schedule when I'm going to sing, and what, how I'm going to take the time to make sure that I'm doing a warm-up, doing a vocal warm-up, taking the time to work with that muscle, because I want to grow as a performer. So that's me, right? But what does it look like for you? So that I encourage you to take that time today and just sit down with your schedule. If you have a planner, I use the Dream Planner. You might already know. I use the Horatio Printing Dream Planner. I love this planner. You can get this planner for 10% off, actually, if you use the code CREATIVELY10. And I will put that in the show notes, just a little plug there, but I'll put that in the show notes for you if you want a planner, because their planners are beautiful, and the planners are full of scriptures and encouragement, and also has like a lot of space for you to reflect and to kind of think about, what your fears are and what your plans are moving forward, what your dreams are. It's wonderful. It's a great planner. So anyway, that's a planner that I use. So it has space for like each week. It has a spot for you to write like a master to-do list of all the things that you want to accomplish by the end of the week. I try not to make it too long so that it's actually doable and I'm not overwhelming myself, right? Going back to the whole aspect of like not wanting to constantly work and burn yourself out, right? You want to have at least some level of balance, whatever that looks like for you. So that's on one side, and then on the other side of the planner for the week is the actual like daily like the different days of the week, with space for writing notes and writing whatever you want to do. So that's how I organize my week, is that I have like the to-do list for the entire week, and then I have like for each day, what am I doing to work towards those like ultimate goals and plans that I have. So yeah, so whatever that looks like for you, that'll look different, but I really encourage you to have time at the beginning of each week. Set aside time and really look at your week. What are the things that I want to do, that I want to work on for myself creatively this week? Maybe it's posting content. You want to work on creating a content calendar for yourself. That's great, right? That's something I'm also including as well. Maybe, and I, for myself, I kind of attach that to working on my podcast, right? Working on my podcast and working on my singing, and then that tends to overlap into content that I create and share online. So, but that's just for me. So whatever it is for you, maybe you are a writer, and so you want to be writing and posting some of it as well, some of your writings, or maybe you do a newsletter that you want to share it in, right? So you are going to, maybe in your calendar, you're going to have spots every day for when you're writing from this time to this time. You're going to be working on this poem that you're working on, or you're going to write one short poem a day, or whatever it is for you. And then maybe you have certain days where you're going to share it on this platform, or you're going to share it in this email newsletter that you're emailing out to people, or whatever it is. So that's just one example, right? That's like a super yeah, super simple example of what you could be doing, like, and it's going to differ for everyone, right? If you're an actor, then maybe your goal for the week is that you're going to submit 2 self-tapes, right? So then that means, like, each day, okay, are you looking for auditions, and then are you preparing your material, and then, what does that look like? Are you going to be sharing some of the material, or like sharing clips of it, like behind the scenes on your social media as part of that for you? Like, what does it look like? I don't know. Those are just ideas. But the point is that I want you to really think about, how can I be growing in my craft every single day, and every week, really, because ultimately you want to accomplish your goals as a creative, and you want to make sure that you're fulfilling your potential. You're using your gifts and you're sharing them as much as you can, and that takes time to really, I think for me, it definitely is taking time for me to really continue to grow and to be the best that I can be. I'm definitely not there yet, so I want to constantly be growing as much as I can. Not to the point that I'm burning myself out, but I want to constantly be growing because I love to do it. And so that means, and that does mean planning it, right? So that I'm not burning myself out by just like doing things, randomly here and there, but I actually have a plan that is doable for me and that works for me. So, and it's okay to tweak it here and there too as well. But at the end of the day, are you growing on, or are you focusing on growing your craft and working on your creative passion? Or are you, getting trapped in self-doubt and comparison because all you're doing is maybe looking at other people's content or looking at other people's creativity, which is wonderful again, but if it's holding you back, or if it's distracting you from working on what you need to be working on, then it's not as helpful as it could be. So this is just my word of encouragement, and hopefully that the idea of sitting down and preparing your week and your to-do list helps, because I really, really want to see you out there creating, and it doesn't even have to be stuff that you're sharing, but I want you working on your craft, right? Because that's what I want to be doing. So let's do it together. Let's encourage each other, right? And I want to know that you're out there doing it just like I am, because we as creatives, we got to stick together, we got to encourage each other. And like I always say, it's a journey, but if you're not growing, then you're dying, right? I talked about this with the youth group that when I lead at my church yesterday. We were talking about growing, spiritual growth. And it's like, if you're not growing spiritually, then, and you're not growing closer to God, then you're going to slip away, because you have to be, while you're resting in God's love for you, you also get to be pursuing that relationship with Him, right? You have to feed your relationships. And that's the same thing with your creativity and with your craft. You have a gift that you've been given. You have to feed it. You have to put in the time and the energy and the passion. You got to put it to work. So that you can continue to grow in it. And I'm saying this to myself just as much as I'm saying it to you, because we all need that reminder that it's a privilege. We get to put it to work. We get to use this gift and grow it and grow it and grow it, so that God only knows what it can become, right? God is the one who put it in us, so He knows what it can become. So of course we have to take that action to continue to create, to continue to work on our craft, to continue to grow that gift, that creative potential, so that we can truly, put it out there and share it with the world. And yeah, so that's just my little word of encouragement as you start this week. Take a moment, sit down, plan out your week. How are you going to be systematically growing in your gift? How are you going to be creating more than you're just consuming other people's content? But, how are you going to be working on your own craft so that you can pursue and reach the goals that you have for this month, this year, your life, this season in your life, that God is calling you to use this creative gift of yours. So I hope that you're able to do that. And if you need any help doing that whatsoever, again, I've mentioned it before, but I'm really here for you. I want to be here for you. I want to get to know you more and see how I can help you in future episodes and whatnot. So I would love for you to set up
sign up for a one-on-one Zoom call with me. It will be like 15 to 30 minutes, not long, depending on you, and I'm doing this throughout the month of May until the end of May. Free sessions. We're just going to talk. You can share with me what your creative goals are, and I can share with you. We can encourage each other. I will literally just be here for you, encouraging you, maybe giving you some tips and ideas, what I've done so far and what I've done in the past that has worked for me, to really help you continue to do the things that you love to do and to work on your craft. And or maybe if you need help on focusing on what it is you want to do, you don't know where to begin. That's really, I think I can really help you with that, because I know what that's like to be like super multi-passionate and not sure how to kind of narrow down on what you want to focus on in this particular season. Nothing wrong with being multi-passionate, but sometimes it does help to focus on one thing to start in a particular season so that you are able to do that one thing and really grow it as much as you can. So if you need help with that, definitely sign up for one of these creativity coaching sessions with me. It's free. It's just fun. Let's get to know each other. So make sure you sign up. The link is in the show notes as always. So sign up there. I would love to get to talk to you. And yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you know how loved you are. I hope you know how blessed you are. I hope you know how gifted you are and how creative you are. And that the artistic gifts that you have, the love that you have for dance, for writing, for music, for, whatever it is, whatever your creative gift is, for painting, I hope you know that it is beautiful and that it was given to you by the God who loves you. And so I hope that you are ready to go and make the most of it, and you're ready to go and continue to grow it and share it with the rest of us, because we need your gifts. Okay. All right, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Keep creating, and I will talk to you later.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Creatively by Estelle. I hope you feel encouraged by today's episode as you start this week. And if you have a moment, I would love for you to just share this episode with a friend if you liked it, or with someone who you think this could be encouraging to. It would really help the show. Also, if you really loved this episode, if you wouldn't mind going to Apple Podcasts and leaving a review and rating this show, it would really help us reach more people through this show and grow our Creatively community. All right, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week.